Yeah, it's that time again. Keeping the G Real podcast. We're back doing a little post fight review. UFC 229. It's a pretty wild card over the weekend. Some good fights. Last time I gave everyone my predictions on the fights, and we'll see how I did with that. And we'll talk about the state of what's happened after this huge brawl that happened over the weekend. Like that was wild. Everyone knows the backstory of UFC 229 Conor versus Khabib. We'll break that whole thing down. We'll talk about the brawl, obviously. We'll talk about the fight, more importantly, and then we'll get to. I want to talk about the state of the 155-pound division because there's been some moving parts. And first, we're going to get to. There's actually some Bellator action this weekend. And a good friend of mine, Alex Potts, who I had trained with for a handful of years at Ultimate Athletics, is now a up-and-coming fighter for Bellator MMA. And we don't talk super lot about Bellator on here. I mean, Bellator has some good fights and things of that nature, but, the top dogs are still over at UFC. So, but we're going to get into some Bellator stuff. So, my buddy Alex, 40-ounce Paz, is taking on this cat, Mike Kimball. And I don't know much about Mike Kimball. This would be Alex's second fight for Bellator. I want to say he won by submission the first fight out. And this fight's going to be contested at 135. And we're going to pull up some video here, and we're going to take a little peek at what Mike Kimball's working with. I found a fight, him and Warrior Nation XFA, Mike Kimball versus Steve Rivera. Let's see what's going on with this kid. Let's see what he's about. Pull this up right here. Let's see what Alex is going up against. I watched the weigh-ins. The Mike Kimball kid looks like a long, rangy, athletic kid. He's in shape. He's definitely in shape. I mean, that's facts. He's fighting out of Thunder MMA. Those fights are on tonight, actually. I don't know what time they start. And I remember last time I watched a Bellator card. I think it was the first time Potts fought. I went out for Kevin's fight and watched Kevin fight live, but Alex's first fight I couldn't make it to, and I watched it. And I want to say they didn't show his fight originally. Like at first, they showed it like after. They show some of the prelims after, which is odd. I mean, like the UFC will show prelims again with time restraints and things of that nature to round the show off. But like I think it was on purpose. They did it here. All right, so they touch gloves. Well, this Mike Kimball kid is aggressive, and he gets an immediate knockout. Well, one thing I will say, if this kid's that aggressive against Alex, he's going to get himself fucking taken down. That's for sure. But it looks like this kid's serious on the feet. Let's go back and watch that again. Yo, fucking Steve Rivera was not ready. He was not ready for that. The Steve Rivera kid doesn't even look like he want to be here. He's like, all right, whatever. Well, kid stands orthodox. He gets a little loopy and wild with his stance. Like he gets like sideways, flat-footed. He's explosive and has power, but he's all over the place with it. Let's go back and watch this again. I mean, Potts can hold his own on the feet. He's got good right straight, good right overhand. He's just gonna have to be patient. This kid's gonna probably come at him like a psycho. This kid's really explosive, high energy. Let's go try to find a fight where he gets tested on the mat. Let's see what he's got. Let's see what he's got popping on the mat. This fight's a little longer, 9 minutes. Okay, well, he decides to take this kid straight to the floor. Kid's going with some rubber guard here. Obviously, the people at home can't see what I'm seeing, but patient on the floor, not getting too crazy. He's trying to step over his guard. Well, now they're back on the feet. I ain't gonna lie. Anyways, that first fight he had, he came out looking explosive. This fight, he's looking a little bit. Oh no, he's still getting. Oh, geez. This kid's got a little like wild, like Tony Ferguson-esque spinning shit, just throwing. Let's see if they go back to the floor again. Okay, so they're on the floor again. Kimball's controls here is not that bad, but this kid he's fighting doesn't look like he's that good. You can tell that his control is good, but you can tell his awareness and his top game for a submission being there is bad. He had a chance for 2 different submissions, so he gets the TKO. The place is going crazy. Well, this Kimbo kid can fight. I know from watching this, I could see that he can fight. A little wild in the stand-up. He's really athletic and explosive. I think Potts should definitely look to try to take this fight to the mat. Kid he has power. Mike Kimball signs a multi-fight deal with Bellator after KO and pro debut. Let's see. Okay, so this kid's had a win already. Well, show me the fucking win, dog. So he's been KOing dudes. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Well, he's not that good at understanding when submissions are being attempted on him, and he does the wrong move, which does work to get himself out of the armbar somehow. Yo, this kid is serious. This would be a real notch in Potts' belt. If Potts goes out and looks good against this kid, I think this is interesting. So I'm reading some stuff about this kid that, like, I think Bellator thinks he's like an up-and-coming guy. Chael Sonnen interviewing him here. I think they probably think that they probably set this fight up because not a lot is known about Alex, but let me tell you something. I'm not saying because I train with him. I have trained with him. Alex is a fucking pit bull. Alex is tough as fucking nails. So, all I'm saying is, this kid's definitely explosive. He could strike, but if he does not bring his A game and is ready to go into the deep waters and things of that nature, if Alex makes it a tough, scrappy fight, he's gonna have to make it a tough and scrappy fight and see what this. A lot of those like flashy, explosive dudes and shit, a lot of them don't like getting hit. You gotta test their resolve. I'll be watching, but I expect Kevin to look. I expect Alex to look good in this fight. I know Kevin's out there. I'm hoping Kev sometime soon gets another fight. I haven't heard anything about that, but I'll be watching. I'll be watching from work, which sucks, but yeah, I mean, Alex is very big and physically strong for the 135-pound division. He gets on guys and he can kind of puts the smush smash on them. I think Alex is just patient, takes his time, defends himself really well. The kid comes in wild. There's going to be plenty of openings for Alex to get takedowns on this kid. I mean, the fights that I see his striking, he gets all like sideways, funky, flat-footed, not in a position to get takedowns. To defend takedowns. He's just off of this kid's offense. Sometimes they can bite you in the ass, but I'm looking forward to that. Tonight, 40 ounce, Alex Potts. I'll be rooting for you, bud. So let's go on to the fight card. Well, I picked Tony Martin to win, if I recall. And I said he would win by a decision, but Tony Martin ended up getting the TKO in the third round of Ryan LaFleur. Like I said, Ryan LaFleur is like his DeQuain Anton. He's a journeyman. He's not really anything special fighter. He's like a meat and potatoes fighter. Like, he's competent in all areas, and he's tough, and he's decently athletic, and puts on a good pace. But I don't remember if I actually seen that fight. And then, obviously, as I do recall, I said Nick Lentz would either win a decision or KO Gray Maynard. Like I said, Gray Maynard needs to fucking retire. Maynard needs to go do construction or go, I don't know, fucking go to Bible study or something, whatever these dudes do after they retire. Like, he needs to hang it up with his terrible chest tattoos. Gray Maynard's like 36 now, and he's just getting knocked out by everyone. Nick Lentz's striking has improved, but Nick Lentz clanged a fucking head kick right off his fucking dome, put him out. Like, it was just, it wasn't pretty. Gray Maynard needs to retire after that fight, but I'm sure he'll take some other fight and get knocked out cold by someone. Ooh. My girl, Yana Kunitskaya, she's so fun. Takes on Lena Landsberg. She beat Lena Landsberg by decision. I was interested in this fight because I thought it was going to be contested on the feet, but Kunitskaya, 5 of 8 on her takedowns at 63%. The whole time she took her down and just beat her up. 77% strike percentage on her total strikes. 159 and 208. Her output was good. She just took Lena Landsberg down and controlled her. She did a good job getting into side control and landing strikes and things of that nature. Landsberg toughed it out and didn't get subbed. I mean, they both went for one submission, but yeah, Kunitskaya looked good. I mean, they threw her to the wolves when she fought against Cyborg, and that was what it was. I mean, she put up a tough fight, but Cyborg put her out at the end of the first round. I think a lot of people think Kunitskaya is just this good-looking blonde chick from the middle of nowhere in Russia, but that's just there to look pretty. But she could fight. She's got the physical tools, long range, can strike, and she showed a wrinkle in her game. I mean, Lena Landsberg's a stand-up fighter, but I mean, she was taking Lena Landsberg down, just knifing through her strikes, taking her to the floor and beating her down. It was a good win for Kunitskaya. Kunitskaya is only like 27, I think. She's definitely going to be someone that's going to vie for that 135-pound title. I mean, you got to give her credit. She stepped in against fucking Cyborg and got mollywopped. It was fucking bad. So, this is one of the ones I was wrong. Scott Holtzman versus Alan Patrick. We were hanging out at Nate's for this fight, and there was a bunch of people there. We were like, Nate was cooking, and everyone was drinking, and all this stuff, and we were kind of talking through a lot of the prelims. We were paying attention, but yeah, I mean, both of these guys are similar fighters. Scott Holtzman TKO'd Alan Patrick. I mean, neither of these guys, in my opinion, they're just like middle of the road fighters. You know, they're never going to be like crack the top 15 fighters and things of that nature. But Scott Holtzman gets a TKO win over Alan Patrick. Nothing really special there. Vicente Luque, on to the next fight. Vicente Luque looked impressive. That Julian Turner kid, long, strong, had some pop on his punches, and it was back for a fight. They were scrapping. Out of nowhere, Vicente Luque hit him with a fucking hook of death. It was savage. Vicente Luque is explosive. You know what I like about Vicente Luque? He's one of those rare dudes that you don't find nowadays in MMA. And I really do think this is true. Vicente Luque like hunts for the finish. You know, just because he has you where he wants you, whether it's on the ground or up against the fence or if he's picking you apart, he's always looking to finish. Like, he's just so aggressive. I thought he was going to win by submission. He went out there and fucking just starched this Julian Turner kid. Now, this Julian Turner kid, for the most part, looked good. He's huge at this weight class. He's like 6'3". I think he'll be back. I think he'll get some more fights. He was only like 22, 23 years old. But he had his moments in the fight, too, landed some good strikes. But Vicente Luque, and even with a sizable reach disadvantage, just got inside on him. Like, what? A lot of these guys don't know how to use their reach. That's why I don't freak out over the reach. Like, you know, we got the casual MMA fan that's just like, oh, bro, put that reach, though. It's like, yeah, but do you know if that dude's any good at actually using that reach? Or are you just arguing the reach factor because it just looks good on paper? Most guys do not know how to use the reach to keep dudes off of them. Look at Stefan Struve. Motherfucker's got 4,000 yards of reach, and he gets knocked out. Stefan Struve got knocked out by Mark Hunt, and I got longer arms than Mark Hunt. Mark Hunt's got like fucking 74 inches of reach, goes out there and starts as a dude with like 83 inches of reach. Like, it's just ridiculous. You know, there's no excuse for that. Now, this is one I called from the get-go. Jussier Formiga gets the decision win over Sergio Pettis. People sleep on Jussier Formiga, like I said in the last podcast. He's very well rounded. He's a better striker than people think. You can't take him to the floor because he could sub you. And I just think his striking defense is really good. He's just too seasoned. Too seasoned for Sergio Pettis. He can fight, and he just took the fight to Pettis, and like Sergio Pettis is a volume guy. He doesn't really have that much power. It's at 125, so not too many of these dudes have the power, but there's nothing wrong with a dude that fights to mix it up and score and things of that nature and try to outclass your opponent. But there definitely comes a time where like the rubber meets the road and you need to actually like implement some shots to try to put dudes away or really look for a finish. Like if something's not working, you really need to change your tact up. And you see a lot like Sergio Pettis is one of those guys where he's an athlete and a competitor, but like you just see there's certain guys that lack that really deep yearning to make it a fight and really get after the win. And I think he has some of that. People say what they want about his older brother Anthony Pettis, but when Anthony Pettis is on, he's looking to kill you. Like, he's a fucking sniper. Like, he will put his shin through your face, and he won't lose a second of sleep over it. And I think that's what separates the two of them. Good athlete and stuff. I mean, Formiga just beat him in all facets of the game. He took him down a couple times, beat him up on the ground, and Formiga threw 74% on the feet. Like, he's got underrated boxing. And, people, like I said on the last podcast, people forget there's a time period where Jussier Formiga for about 5 to 6 years was considered the best 125-pound fighter on the planet. But people don't watch things like Jungle Fight and Tachi Palace fights, things of that nature. Formiga starching everybody, beating everyone, submitting dudes, and had that big battle in Tachi Palace fights against Uncle Creepy, and Uncle Creepy ended up beating him, solidifying himself at the time as the best 125-pounder in the world. But I like Formiga, man. I don't really... Could I see Formiga being like a contender? Yeah, at 125, but I'm worried about the state of the 125-pound division. I have a feeling that they could possibly scrap it and make all those dudes move up to 35. I do think that they need to add more weight classes, but that's a whole other discussion. But yeah, I picked Jussier Formiga to win. He won by decision, and he had 7 minutes of control time. That's huge. Controlled him on the ground. I mean, he was actually doing something with it. A lot of dudes have control time, and it's like, for what? But I mean, getting held down by another grown man, I mean, that's a reality. You got to get good at not doing that. Sergio Pettis had no answer for the takedown, for the takedown to the jiu-jitsu in this fight. So, yeah, big win for Formiga, and he's pretty close to a title shot, in my opinion. So, Michelle Waterson versus Felice Herrig. Again, this is one of those fights where my buddy Frontelli's like, oh, Felice is too big, she's too strong, she's too big, and it's like, there's only been a couple instances where the size of an athlete was really the determining factor of a fight. Like, it doesn't happen as often as everyone thinks. Skills pay the bills. Speed and agility kills. And I picked Michelle Waterson to win, and she won by decision because she's just a better fighter. She's more well-rounded, and she's so quick and fast on the feet. She can get in and out. I've been loving watching Michelle Waterson fight because people don't know she used to fight at atom weight, which is 105 pounds. And she just dominated chicks there. But I love how at 115 and at 125, I want to say she's fought at 125 too, maybe up as high as 135. Anyways, she's always fighting girls bigger than her. Every girl she fights, she's fighting a girl that has a physical advantage on her from a strength and size standpoint, and she's been beating a lot of girls. Michelle Waterson's really skilled. She can take you down, she can submit you, and she's got good striking. Not really a lot of punching power, but she throws a lot of volume, and she's really accurate. She landed 81% of her strikes in this fight. 81% of her strikes in this fight through 163 strikes. And she was 72% on her significant strikes. Felice Herrig did get a takedown, but only 1 of 4. Michelle Waterson kind of picked her apart, and Felice had 6 minutes of control time, but I mean, you don't do nothing with it. It is what it is. But yeah, Michelle Waterson looked good. Like to see what's next for her. Felice was on a win streak, and I like Felice. That's my girl. But yeah, I have a hard time. I always pick the more skilled fighter, man. It's hard. It's hard to not pick against a more skilled fighter. Now this fight was fucking hilarious. So I thought this fight was the lock of the night. I picked Alexander Volkov to smoke Derek Lewis. Apparently Derek Lewis had other plans. So this fight was a back and forth fight, but like Volkov's one of the few dudes who, in my opinion, uses his reach decently. He was picking Derek Lewis apart. He knocked him down. Had him hurt a couple times, which is funny because I could have sworn Lewis got knocked out a couple times this fight, and it doesn't have any knockouts for Alexander Volkov. Volkov threw a clip at 73%, 71% on significant strikes. He ended up getting a takedown. Maybe that's what that was. But so basically, this fight was Alexander Volkov just beating the brakes out of Derek Lewis the whole entire time. Derek Lewis like barely surviving. It was weird. He kept getting punched in the left eye. Volkov was landing these stiff jabs. He kept trying to say he was getting poked in the eye, but it was like, nah, homie, you're just getting punched in the eyeball. But Derek Lewis complained about it a couple times this and that. So we get down to the last 10 seconds of the fight. Well, about the last 20 seconds of the fight, Derek Lewis is coming over the top with these big overhand rights, right? It was a dope adjustment on his part. He's coming over the top. Volkov. The problem with Volkov was I think Volkov started to get tired by the end of the fight because he was like, man, how many shots am I going to hit this dude and he's not going to go away? Volkov was starting to back up. Lewis come forward, knowing he's got to win. Derek Lewis throws an overhand right. It's close to home, but it's not exactly there, and they trade a little bit. Then Derek Lewis throws another overhand right. And he makes a minor adjustment. The third punch he throws, he goes to throw the overhand right, but he adjusts it and sends it straight, turns it into a shovel straight right. And then, the last 10 seconds, just punches Alexander Volkov into oblivion. Volkov hits the floor, and Derek Lewis gets on top of him. Dude, Derek Lewis is scary when he's on top of you, hitting you like, fuck that. And he just blasted Volkov's head through the mat. He was fucked up, and the referee had to dive in there and save him. And, yeah, it was interesting. I mean, he got performance of the night, but, he was he was losing the whole fight until he landed that shot. Can never give up in this game, man. Got to keep fighting till the end. And now it's beneficial with Derek Lewis now, not even a month from now. Against DC at UFC 230. Lewis takes some shots. The UFC must be desperate to make matchups because Lewis was beat up after that fight, and he's getting a fight against DC in 3 weeks. I don't know how that's going to play out. He looked like I've seen dudes get month medical suspensions for less than that. So I just found that odd that they turned around and gave Lewis a title shot against DC. Let's hope, I hope the best for Derek Lewis. I don't see him beating DC though. I think DC is going to beat the fuck shit out of him most likely. Unless Derek Lewis lands one of those right hands. He can put anyone to sleep. So Volkov I thought was a contender. I thought if Volkov beat DC, I think whoever would have won this fight would have been in a similar situation with DC, but apparently they're stripping DC's title for the John Jones and Alexander Gustafsson fight, so we will see. Now, this fight was fucking wild. Ovince St. Preux versus Dominic Reyes. So most of us picked Ovince St. Preux because he's the more well-rounded fighter, but Dominic Reyes can fight, man. He's 10-0, and he brought it to OSP. They were slanging. OSP ended up getting a takedown, except for he's 1-9 on his takedowns. They were battling back and forth. They landed a bunch of good shots on each other. So what was interesting about this fight was the very end of the fight. Dominic Reyes, they get this little tangle up against the fence, and they get spun around. Dominic Reyes just says, fuck that noise. And he spins around in the last 3 seconds and just blasts OSP with a punch to the fucking neck. It was fucking a straight up throat punch. He's like, gadoosh, and hit him in the neck. GSP or OSP was like, hit the fucking floor. Right as he hit the floor and was on his ass, the fucking bell went off. And, like, OSP was in trouble. He was hurt. And a lot of people thought that should have counted as a TKO. I mean, Reyes didn't jump in and hit him at all. So, in my eyes, he was definitely saved by the bell. But it was pretty close. It was similar to when Anderson Silva and Michael Bisping fought. And at the end of the third round, Anderson ran up and kneed Michael Bisping fucking Keanu Reeves Matrix style against the fucking fence. And Bisping hit the deck and was like, he was hurt. He got saved by the bell and he stumbled all the way to the corner and managed to somehow fucking come out and win the next 2 rounds to win the fight. It was fucking nuts. But I don't think OSP was winning the fight to begin with. Obviously, the decision went to Reyes, so I think they got that right. But that was a wild fight. Dominic Reyes, that guy can fucking pop. And he talks about he's the most athletic dude in the division. I don't know if he's the most athletic dude in the division, but he is pretty athletic. He's pretty fast, and he was like throwing OSP against the fence like a fucking rag doll. So that's a big win for Dominic Reyes. That'll probably catapult him up. I don't know if he's already ranked, but if he's not, that's going to catapult him up into the top 10, I would assume, because OSP's fought like all the dudes in the top 10. This fight, so Big Brother Pettis versus Tony Ferguson. Anthony Pettis versus Tony Ferguson. This fight went similar to how I thought I was going to go, but I picked, Tony Yayo to win. And he looked damn good, dude. He looked fast. He looked faster than ever. There was a couple exchanges where Pettis was like sliding in and out of like Ferguson's like attacks and shit, and he just looked so lightning fast. There might not be a faster dude as far as actually moving their whole entire body in the MMA than Anthony Pettis. Ferguson ran in to try to knee him against the fence, and he slid out of the way like he got like a thrust booster in like a video game, like Call of Duty, like you boot slide to the left or right. That's like literally what he did. It was wild. But this fight was mostly contested on the feet, and Tony Ferguson does what he does. He comes out, comes at you, just imposes his will on you, throwing heavy shots, just wild, spinning back fists, kicking at him, all stuff. But in the second round, I think it was the first or the second round, Anthony Pettis landed a crazy right hand on him and dropped him. But all of a sudden, Tony Ferguson starts turning into the circus clown act. He rolls out of the way. Pettis chases him down to try to land another shot on him. Ferguson does like a fucking front flip roll and rolls away like he's Tarzan. The fight was fucking wild, and they just went back at it to striking. And then somewhere along the fence, Tony Ferguson hit Anthony Pettis with a nasty fucking elbow before they went to the floor. There's a huge cut in Pettis' head. Pettis had top controls, really weird. Like, they were both bleeding on each other, and Pettis was like fucking like sticking his tongue out and shit like it was fucking blade forward in this bitch. I don't fucking know. They're fighting, going at it on the ground. Eventually, going into the third round, I would say going into the third round, Tony probably won the first 2 rounds, but you could make an argument for one of those rounds going for Pettis. But it really didn't make a difference. Even though Pettis looked so good, Tony overwhelmed him, cut him open, and Pettis apparently broke his hand. And he said, I don't know if he said it or I don't know if the doctor stopped him, but they didn't answer the third round, and Tony won by TKO. I mean, Tony's on the show saying that Pettis quit and all this stuff, but when you see his hand and his glove, like right after they make the decision and stuff, they panned over to his hand, and his fingers looked like balloons, like you blew up balloons, and like a balloon inside. Like if you took a doctor's glove, a latex glove, and you put it into his MMA glove, and you blew the fucking glove up, and the fingers were out the sides, like that's what his hand looked like. So I don't doubt that his hand was fucking broken. And then with that cut, I'd have to go back to see if the doctor stopped it or he did, but obviously Tony Ferguson's like, fuck everybody, I'm coming for you, McNuggets, and all this shit. Like, got on the mic, started yelling and shit. But good for Tony Ferguson. He looked... You could definitely tell in the beginning he had to He's spent 2 years out of the cage. He definitely had to get his bearings in there. I mean, he looked a little feeling it out, hasn't been back in the cage a little while, and I think that's part of the reason why he got fucking thumped. I mean, Anthony Pettis, in my opinion, looked good in this fight. And I think that because he's a pretty boy and he's had an up and down career lately, I think dudes going to fights with him thinking they can just steamroll him. And Tony Ferguson handily won the fight, but he almost got fucking knocked the fuck out. Like Pettis is, when he's on and his mind's in the right place, dude, he's a dangerous. He can finish anybody, in my opinion. His jiu-jitsu and his striking. You're always one shot away against Pettis from getting put to sleep. So Tony Ferguson, big ups to him. He got the W. I lost $10 over it. So, and then finally, the big enchilada. Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. Now, as a disclaimer, this fight looked similar to what I thought was going to happen. If you remember for anyone that listened to my podcast last week, last week, I said that Khabib would probably get a late TKO or a late submission. But there's definitely a lot of things that were fucking odd about this fight. So we'll start with Khabib's then, as far as the fight goes. I mean, same old Khabib. There's nothing much to really say. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, my buddy's like, Khabib's going to fold under the pressure. All those people screaming, Conor's in his head, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I looked at my buddy, I'm like, yo, Khabib is a fucking mountain man. Fucking Mother Russia and all this shit. I go, this dude don't give a fuck. Like, he ain't fucking phased and shit. Fucking Kalashnikovs could be going off out in the crowd. And he'd be like, this is what? Dana, you know this. This is every day where I come from, Dana. And all this stuff. Like, you know this. Like, he doesn't give a shit. And what I found so interesting about Khabib was, in this fight, it was the same old. Strike, took Conor down, beat Conor up, pounded on him, submitted him. What was interesting was he didn't let, well, at least in the fight anyways, in the actual confines of the match, he seemed to be focused. It was like a focused aggression. He didn't get fucking wild. He didn't fucking get crazy. It was the same old vintage Khabib. Strike his way in, take Conor down, beat him up, submit him. And I thought that was interesting. That was interesting to me. He didn't get fucking wild and crazy. He was smart about it. He took the fight where he needed to take it in certain instances. That's pretty much all I need to say really about Khabib's side of the fight. And I mean, he actually didn't look too bad on the feet. He dropped Conor with a shot, which I thought that drop looked similar to, like, remember when Anthony Rumble Johnson dropped DC? It looked similar to that. He hit him with a shot. It was great. And I don't think Conor expected it. But Conor was kind of also slipped and got knocked back and fell. Like, he wasn't fucked up by that fight. And I'm not saying it, like, because I'm saying this objectively. Because when they went over to the fence, Khabib threw the flying knee, and then Conor spun right around. They just started trading shots. Like, it definitely woke Conor up, and he was like, oh, fuck, this is for real. But, yeah, I don't think it was, like, something where he was hurt. Everyone's like, he's hurt. I'm like, I don't think he's hurt. I think he's just – it's a wake-up call that this kid ain't no fucking walk in the park like he probably thought. And so Khabib looked fantastic. I mean, I'm really hoping that everything gets settled and they get everything, because Khabib, if he keeps fighting, has, in my opinion, shot at all-time great status. And then on Conor's end, there's definitely a lot more negatives than positives, obviously, on his end, because he got smashed. But on his end, from what I seen from him, it was fucking weird. So he did a lot better job in the initial stages defending himself that I thought he was going to do on the feet. Like, Khabib had a hard time taking him down at first. And then when he got him down, Conor scooted over the fence and was calm and patient and managed to get back up to his feet and things of that nature and create more exchanges. And now, if you go back and watch all the fights, he was definitely cheating and shit too, like holding onto the fence and holding Khabib. You could see Khabib in the first round when he's got Conor's legs. He's like trying to get up so he can lock him down. He says something to the referee, like, he's like saying, like, he was saying something, and I go back and I watch it, and Conor was holding on to his the the side of his trunks that are away from the camera against the fence. Conor was holding it down with his left hand so that he couldn't advance up his legs and things of that nature. And he's holding the inside of his gloves. He was definitely cheating a lot. So that would definitely play into some of the reason why he defended himself so well. Second round came out. They threw some shots. They exchanged some shots. Khabib gets him down again. And Khabib started going to work. Then he started pounding on him, but Conor did an all right job covering up and things of that nature. I feel like a lot of guys would have been in more trouble, and a lot of the shots towards the end of the second round, Khabib started to just start go DBZ, just raining shots down on him, and Conor actually defended well against a lot of those shots. Like he's glancing them, covering his head up, glancing them off his defense and shit off his forearms and stuff. And then is in proper Khabib fashion, which the people that don't watch him a lot don't know, is he's notorious, no pun intended, for taking the Khabib's notorious for taking off the third round. And I really think that might be like some sort of game plan for him, because he can go 25 minutes. I think he gets up 2 rounds on guys, and then he feels the guy out, sees what's popping, catches a breather in the third round, and then usually in the end of the third round or the fourth round, he goes right back to work. It's kind of he takes, like when you watch the Al Iaquinta fight, he takes the third round off and doesn't exert as much offense. Then the fourth round, he went right back to work, exerting more offense, whether it was striking or trying to take dudes down. So I think that was his game plan. That being said, between the fact that Khabib took the third round off and Conor created more chances for himself to strike, what was fucking striking about this is that if you add all the times around the feet where Khabib chose to strike with him, and then the times where Conor actually created openings for him to strike, Conor looked he looked like fucking dog shit on the feet. And it blew my mind. First thing off, I will say is, Conor McGregor was not in shape for this fight. I don't care what anyone says. You can look good all you want and be all big and jacked. He was huge for this fight. He wasn't in shape. During the weigh-ins, you can see fat around his chest and things of that nature. He's just carrying around too much fucking bad weight. He looks like he's about to go fucking bodybuild. And he just looked massive, and he didn't have... Conor's usually got good speed darting in and out, and he's got good reaction time and things of that nature, and none of that was there. None of that was there in this fight when he's striking. All his strikes were just a couple hairs off. He just wasn't accurate, and he wasn't quick to get himself positioned in that third round. He had a lot of opportunities in that third round to land some shots, and he landed some shots to the body because those are high percentage shots and things of that nature. He landed some good shots to the body and some good kicks and things of that nature, but he just couldn't really consistently and accurately implement a game plan for his striking. I mean, it says his striking accuracy was 75%, but he threw a lot of kicks to the body, a lot of jabs, and a lot of shots to the body. He just didn't look himself on the feet, and that was the most interesting thing of that whole entire fight was he looked like fucking ass on his feet. Wasn't in shape. He was lacking a step from how fluent he moves and how fast he moves on his feet. It just he wasn't up to par, which is interesting, was because most guys have a problem when they cut a lot of weight, having cardio and things of that nature. But at 145, when he was fighting at 145. He fought all those dudes down to 145. He was fucking fast and explosive and accurate and shit, even though that weight cut killed him. He literally looked like a fucking Draugr in two of those fights. You ever play Skyrim? Those fucking Draugrs, those fucking zombie-looking motherfuckers. That's what he looked like in two of his fights. He made 145. Against Mendez, he looked like he was going to fucking die. And yet, at 145... he would go 3 rounds, in my opinion. Everyone goes, oh, no. But there's a difference between getting tired and not being able to go. Against Max Holloway, he blew out his knee. Blew his knee out in the first round and still continued to win, which I thought that fight was a 30-27 fight. I don't know what that was scored. But he smoked Holloway. He outclassed Holloway. Smoked Dustin Poirier. I know Chad Mendes came off the couch and shit, but he smoked Chad Mendes after, having to wade through takedowns and things of that nature. But, it's just interesting how he came up to 155 and 170, and I do think that putting on the extra weight and bulking up and getting bigger, I don't know if that was part of the game plan for fighting 155 because he knew it would go against Khabib. Me personally, I'd rather be fast and agile and be able to get it into my timing and things of that nature. That's me. That's why I always tried to lose weight when I started training MMA. That was my thing. I wanted to lose weight. I didn't want to, like, am I big and strong and shit? Yeah, I could probably get by on an amateur show circuit fighting like at like fucking heavyweight. I probably could. But why would you want to do that? Like, you want to find a happy medium of your weight where, you know, you could be fast and strong, keep your faculties, you know, keep your agility and not be hindered by your weight cut. Like, I think 155 is the spot for Conor, but you can make 55. You can make weight all you want, but that doesn't mean you're not in shape. That doesn't mean you're not healthy and things of that nature. He was missing a step, and it was easy to see. Anyone that knows anything or two about striking, he was missing more than a step. He was just fucking slow. Khabib fucking came in with that overhand right. I didn't even see that fucking shit coming. That's a shot that normally Conor doesn't fucking get hit by. Like, he seen that shit coming from a fucking mile away. So, and then the biggest thing for me was on top of all that, I think that Conor really thought that he was just going to fucking walk through Khabib. He didn't respect him. Came out, hands down, all the shit, acting like he's going to fucking steamroll Khabib, and like, he got a fucking rude awakening. He got his fucking ass kicked. And it was what I expected, but I expected Conor to try to maximize his chances on the feet. He did not maximize the ample opportunity he had on the feet to hurt Khabib and, you know, things of that nature. As far as the finish goes, for all you people out there that are acting like a fucking neck crank don't hurt and they couldn't believe Conor tapped, those neck cranks, if the right person does it and knows how to do one right, it fucks you up. Like, they literally feel like your head's gonna come off. My coach, my jiu-jitsu coach, is fucking yoked. Did he put me in a neck crank a handful of years ago, just like that, same exact neck crank? I felt pain in my upper back, I felt pain in my lower back, and then my jaw felt like it was gonna tear off my face, and it made my sternum pop. It hurt to breathe for like a month. Those neck cranks, if the right dude does it, it can contort your whole body. It can fuck you up. So, I mean, and I'm saying this because a lot of people think that Conor doesn't have heart, things of that nature. I don't know. I mean, unless you've had another grown man park themselves on top of you and fucking choke you or break your fucking face, then you probably shouldn't say anything. Because you don't know what it's like. You'll tap too. So, yeah, I mean, big ups to Khabib. I mean, as far as the aftermath, like, Jesus. I don't want to get too crazy into detail about this because I care more about the actual fights than, you know, what the fuck happened with that bullshit. But, and people could sit around and go, oh, well, this person started, well, that person started, and this and that. And I will say that, well, the only thing I will say is that it doesn't matter who started it. And a lot of people have to, you know, a lot of people are at fault for a lot of the stuff that happened. Both camps, you know, I mean, the UFC's got to promote it, so they use the footage, things of that nature. What I will say is this about it, though. Grown men trying to fight each other in the street, or anyone for that matter, that's one thing. What sucks about what happened at the cage is Khabib left the field of play. He left the field of play during an event with over 20,000 people there and jumped into the crowd and put people at danger, put himself at danger. You know, everyone that was there on the side of the cage, you know, people could have gotten hurt. Luckily, no one got hurt, I don't think. No one died. But there's a difference between two people trying to fight each other out in the street than what happened that night. That cannot happen. I mean, it's the fight game. It just boggles my mind how people get so crazy and do shit like this. Like, they've had brawls. This isn't the first time shit like this happened. Strikeforce has had more than one fucking brawl. Yo, the Diaz brothers and their whole crew jumped Mayhem Miller live on fucking TV one night. Like, do they all just storm the cage, just beat his ass? Like, it's happened in boxing too. But there is definitely a difference between the rules and the way people will look at it, and rightfully so, is different. If you leave the field of play and start fighting outside of the field of play, that's a big fucking no-no. You can't do that. And like on top of that, the optics of it. You should, even us back at the house. Now, there's a part of me that's laughing when I watched it because it's fucking hilarious. Like, it's just funny how all these dudes really want to kill each other. But like me and my buddies and Nate and everyone were like, holy shit, like what the fuck? We're like laughing and fucking those memes of Khabib jumping out of the cage, like flying eagle and shit, jumping on Dylan Dance. That shit's hilarious. And all the people that want to be like, oh, this person started, that person started, Conor threw the first punch, Khabib, no, Khabib jumped out the cage, he started it, all this stuff. And I mean, as far as Conor goes, I mean, obviously Khabib shouldn't have done what he done, but in my opinion, Chael Sonnen has said something I've always thought, even growing up. If someone's approaching you in an aggressive manner, saying they're going to do X, Y, and Z, and they get within your arm's length, I mean, the fight is on, in my opinion. Doesn't matter if you throw the first punch in a lot of scenarios. So, do I really say Khabib started it or Conor started it? No, Conor, those dudes are coming after Conor. Yeah, Conor threw the first punch, but, I mean, it is what it is. Those dudes were going to fucking jump him anyway, so. And it's just all bullshit. The thing that I don't like about this whole entire thing is that the UFC is starting to become like a little bit too circusy act and shit, and there's not real ramifications ever for any of this shit that anyone does. Like, yeah, Conor had to pay money and go to court and shit, but he got out of that shit because he got cash. UFC needed him because he's their cash cow, and like he never really got in any serious trouble with the UFC for this, but now all of a sudden Khabib and the boys are going to get in a fucking shit ton of trouble. Now, like I said, I get it. The optics are different. What Khabib and his guys did, you can't have that at a live event. But I'm looking at the big picture. Something needs to be done. I've always felt like discipline in real life isn't done the right way. I don't think we should punish people all the time for a lot of the shit that they do. But when it comes to a sport, especially a combat sport, there's rules in place for a reason because it is a game. It is a fight, but at the end of the day, it's a sport, and the guys get paid to do it. And like, they do need to do a better job dealing out ramifications for what happens to things that people do. Like, I'm sure there's people clamoring for like, oh, Conor barely got in trouble, but now Khabib's going to get in trouble for this. What sucked about it on Khabib's end was all that Khabib had to do was just beat his ass like he did and stand up and be like, I told you fucking so. And I get it. All the shit that Conor said about his family and all this and his religion and whatever. And I do believe, I don't feel bad for people when they get held accountable for their words. Like, you say stuff about the right person, that person might show up. And then what? You'll rethink what you said. I don't think promotion's gone too far as what dudes are allowed to say to each other. I think people should say whatever the fuck they want to say and not be policed by the word police and shit like that. But at the end of the day, Conor's got to, you're going to be held accountable for the shit you say to people, and you should always remember that, I mean, he didn't press charges or anything for the dudes that jumped him, so, I mean, it is what it is. So, one thing I will say, segueing out of this, is about Conor. Conor's future as a fighter. Do I think Conor McGregor is in the upper echelon of fighters at 155? I mean, if you go through the list, I think I was looking last night. I went through the rankings, and I looked at all the dudes in the 155-pound weight class. Because I was thinking about this a lot last night. Where is it? Okay. If you look at this right now, this is just what the UFC says. Khabib's champ, Tony Ferguson is 1, Conor McGregor's 2, Dustin Poirier's 3, Eddie Alvarez is 4, Kevin Lee's 5, Barboza, Gaethje, Pettis, Ali Quinta, Nate Diaz, And then it's, some middle of the pack guys. Michael Chiesa, James Vick, this up-and-coming kid, Aaron Hernandez, Alex Hernandez, Dan Hooker, and Francisco Trinaldo. So if you look at this weight class, do I think Conor McGregor is a world-class top 10 fighter? Yeah, I do think so. I do think Conor is a really good fighter. But there's definitely some things I'm starting to see out of him that make me question what his true intentions are, what his motivations are, and if the UFC should go about, stopping the fucking world and holding the presses to promote his fight. In my opinion, Conor will promote his own fight. You don't need to be going out of the way and doing fucking shit crazy. I mean, he's proved to everyone that, when he's going to get in a fight with someone, people are going to watch. He doesn't need anyone to fucking do anything special to run the shit up. Conor got beat, in my opinion, pretty damn handedly. I don't think he deserves an immediate rematch. And it's just weird to me how he loses to Nate Diaz because he didn't fucking take Nate Diaz seriously and he got fucking smoked. But then it's, I want a mini rematch, and he comes back and he's focused and he's in shape, and it's actually about all the fight and nothing else, and he wants to get the win back. What, is he going to do that against Khabib again? I don't think he can beat Khabib if they fight again. Do I think it'll be a better fight? Yeah, I do, but I don't think he'll win. But it's is that what you need? Do you need to lose every time and then demand a rematch to come back and get a victory? I don't know. Honestly, there's a lot of things going on with Conor. He's caring about, promoting his whiskey, which I still haven't had yet, and he was out of shape and all these other things, and I think I don't know if it's because he's made all the money, but I liked Conor when he was fighting at 145, man. Talked about how he's like, I go out and I run in the morning and I don't eat after. He goes, I feel like an animal and all this shit. Talk about how he barely eats leading up to the fight. He just rehydrates and shit because he wants to feel like he deserves a meal and shit. The 145-pound Conor, even though the matchups were in his favor, he was in a lot of those instances, he was a fucking killer. And I don't know if making the money changed him and things of that nature, but I do think he's a better fighter than people give him credit for. He lost to Nate Diaz, and he lost to the best fighter arguably on the planet right now. So I don't think people should freak out and act like Conor isn't worth promoting and all these other things. But I think Conor at this point needs to be held privy to the rest of the shit that everyone else gets held privy to. You lost the fight. You got beaten down and you got submitted and you tapped. You got finished. That he doesn't deserve another rematch. He doesn't deserve an immediate rematch. UFC 155 has been log jammed. So what I think they should do is they should go about promoting things the way they should go about promoting things. Promote all these other fights, and if they give Conor McGregor a fight, he doesn't deserve another rematch. Obviously, promote his fight. I think Tony Ferguson needs to fight Khabib. That's long overdue. If everything comes out and it's all handled, Tony Ferguson needs to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov. That fight needs to happen. That fight's long overdue. Tony proved yet again that he's the number one contender and he needs to fight Khabib. Now, Dustin Poirier pulled out of his fight with Nate Diaz due to injury. I do think they should give Conor someone else. I think Conor should have gotten a two-up fight. But you got to remember, in this weight class, especially in this weight class and in this sport, there is almost no such thing as a tune-up fight. This isn't fucking boxing where there's two good boxers in every weight class and you can pad everyone's records. If you look at all these dudes, it's hard to give Conor a tune-up fight. What are you going to put him against? I mean, I think he has Eddie Alvarez's number. I honestly do. I don't think that stylistic matchup is good for Eddie Alvarez. He got fucking smoked. I think Conor would smoke him again. But what do? Do you put him against Dustin Poirier when he comes back? Poirier's looking like a fucking killer, looking like a world beater right now. Could Poirier beat Conor? Possibly. I think Kevin Lee would beat Conor. Edson Barboza's not a tough night out. I think because of Edson Barboza's boxing's not all that good, I think Conor would probably beat him. Gaethje and Conor would be an interesting fight. Pettis and Conor would be an interesting fight. L.I. Quinta could probably take Conor down. Nate Diaz already proved he could take Conor down and beat him up. Michael Chiesa, he's a tough out for a lot of guys. So it's like James Vick, he's a stylistic matchup nightmare for some guys. What I think they need to do is, at the end of the year, Tony Ferguson versus Khabib if everything's all set and everything's good to go. I think Kevin Lee's fighting Ally Quinta. So if they're not gonna do Nate Diaz 3, I think they should run it back. I think they should do Conor versus Aldo at 155. That's what I think. And I think that Aldo will come and not just run and jump on Conor's left hand like a fucking idiot. And I think that fight would be way more competitive than people think. I would love to see that fight, Conor versus Aldo too. Aldo in the right state of mind. Conor coming back after he just got his ass beat. He'll probably be more focused and shit. Maybe he'll show up in shape this time. But yeah, that's what I think needs to happen. Then maybe, I don't know if Gaethje's got a fight. We can do Gaethje versus Diaz, Barboza versus Gaethje. There's some fights to be made here. So yeah, I think that's what's I think that's what's going on in the 155 pound division. I think Tony Ferguson and Khabib need to fight each other. That has to happen. And then we got to start treating Conor like the rest of these contenders. And give the rest of these contenders that have earned opportunities the opportunities in this game. You can't logjam this shit anymore. There's too many good guys in these weight classes not give guys chances of good fights. So that's what I'm calling for. Conor versus Aldo too. Let's do it on New Year's. Let's get it popping. And let's see what's going on. Let's see what's going on coming up. What we got? Volkan Ozdemir versus Smith. What's his name? Anthony Smith. So this will be a good fight. Someone's definitely getting fucking finished in that fight. Volkan Ozdemir. I like Volkan Ozdemir. No time. He's ranked number 2, Volkan Ozdemir, and obviously, as everyone knows, John Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson's coming up. Apparently, DC's title is getting stripped. Jones and Gustafsson are fighting for the title. Should be interesting. Both dudes haven't fought for a while. I thought Gustafsson won the first fight, and I'm not saying it because of whatever. This is back in a time when John wasn't getting in trouble when they fought, and I liked both guys equally, so there's no bias. And I've watched that so many times, I thought Gustafsson won the fight. But it's going to be interesting to see with these guys after a long layoff, both of them. I haven't seen Gustafsson fight in a while. Volkan Ozdemir versus Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith's definitely a more well-rounded fighter. Even Volkan Ozdemir is ranked 2nd, but I like Anthony Smith, man. I think Anthony Smith takes that fight, whether he knocks him out or submits him. Anthony Smith's really underrated. He literally looks like a serial killer, by the way. He just looks like a meat popsicle like Robbie Lawler. Also, this is interesting, not to digress, but Artem Lobov was supposed to fight Zubaira Tukhugov, who's one of the dudes that jumped Conor. Supposedly that fight is off, but apparently Artem's pleading with the UFC to not fire Tukhugov because he wants to fight him and then retire, send him back and all this shit. I mean, look at Artem Lobov's 14-14. Lobov needs to give it up. He's probably going to get smoked by this Tukhugov kid if they fight. Let's see what else there is. Here we go. So, yeah, like I was saying earlier, DC and Derek Lewis, that's real. It's UFC 230. It's November 3rd. It's not far from now. Honestly, in this fight, obviously it's the heavyweight division. Derek Lewis can land a shot, knock DC out and shit, but 5-round fight, I think DC just grabs Derek Lewis. You laugh. Everyone's like, oh, Derek Lewis is fucking huge. DC will take fucking Derek Lewis and spin him around like a fucking tilt-a-whirl and fucking slam him on his head. Beat his fucking ass. I don't even need to talk about that shit. DC all day. Poirier, Nate Diaz, it still says it's up here, but I'm pretty sure it's 100% decided that Poirier's pulled out. Ooh. Rockhold versus Weidman, too. This is interesting. The first time Luke Rockhold looked great, and they had a back and forth fight early, and Rockhold ended up getting top. Rockhold gets top position. Rockhold gets a hold of top position. It's fucking over. I don't give a fuck who you are. He puts the smush smash down on people. He just puts his fucking nuts on your face and pounds you out. But the problem is with Rockhold is one of those dudes that takes himself too seriously, gets into his own head. I don't know how I feel about this fight because people sleep on Chris Weidman like he's just so well-rounded of a fighter. But I mean, I do think Luke Rockhold's a better fighter, more athletic, and Luke Rockhold when Luke Rockhold's on top of his game, I really believe that when Luke Rockhold fights to his best ability, he's the best 185-pounder in the world. I've said that ever since he got into the UFC. I really believe if he's on and he's not being a fucking dink, he's the best middleweight on the planet. And he's going to have a chance to prove that because if he goes out there and beats Chris Weidman, he's probably going to get a title shot against Bobby Knuckles. There's also Souza versus Branch. That'll be an interesting fight. Two really good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners. I think that the fight will mostly get contested on the feet, to be honest. I feel like David Branch is a live dog, man. People sleep on David Branch and shit because he's got a boring-ass name. But he can fight, man. I mean, Jock Ray's a freaking strangler. He's a boa constrictor. But that fight will be interesting. Ooh, Nate's guy. Israel Adesanya versus Derek Brunson. Okay, well, Derek Brunson's another case of the type of fighter that I fucking disdain. A dude that has all-American fucking wrestling chops. But he just thinks he can strike, and he strikes at everyone. I'm picking Israel Adesanya by first-round knockout against Derek Brunson because Derek Brunson has the fight IQ of a fucking tin can. Any other good fights on here? Yeah, Jason Knight looks like he's straight out the fucking KKK fighting Jordan Rinaldi. Oh, Sijara Eubanks is fighting Roxanne Modaffredi on that undercard. Or no, it's on the main card. She was supposed to fight Valentina Shevchenko, and then they finally got the deal done with Shevchenko and Joanna Jędrzejczyk. So now she's fighting Roxanne Modaffredi. Eubanks obviously got all but her because they changed the fight on her and shit, and she started making it about race and whatnot, like whatever. But Eubanks isn't all. She's ranked number 4, but in that weight class, it's not hard to be ranked number 4. They don't have a lot of talent at that weight class, so that'll probably be a good fight. Roxanne Modaffredi's been fighting fucking forever. Let's see what else we got here. We got a bunch of Fight Pass and FS1 cards for a while up until we have Max Holloway and Brian Ortega is going to be in Toronto on December. That fight is headlined. The co-main event is Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Valentina Shevchenko. They rescheduled Jimmy Manuwa versus Thiago Santos, which we all know how that's going to go. That fight, Jimmy Manuwa can't take a fucking punch, so he'll probably go to sleep. Claudia Gadelha, Nina Ansaroff gets a chance to really hop up in the ranks. She's going to fight Claudia Gadelha. I think Claudia Gadelha just takes her down, beats her ass. Eric Anders versus Elias Theodoro. John McDessie versus Diego Ferreira. Some good fight card. Max Holloway versus Brian Ortega. That's one of those ones, dude. I don't know. Max has been having health issues. weight cuts killing him and things of that nature. Like, I don't understand. I feel like if I was making this much money to fight and things of that nature and I was like the champion, you would try your hardest to stay in shape all the time. But like, there's rumors that Max balloons up to 180 something pounds and all this stuff, and couldn't even make 155 on short notice for Whatcha-Jig, like for the fight against Khabib, which would have been fucking amazing if they fought. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Max Holloway in this fight. And Brian Ortega they're both extremely rounded. This is probably the fight I'm most interested in out of all these upcoming fights. That one's going to be a barn burner. T-City, as long as he doesn't get popped for fucking D-ball, he'll be all right. And then we got Kevin Lee and Ally Quinto, December 15th. And then there's a pay-per-view on December 29th at the end of the year, to be determined. Let's see if they put up any fights for that. Nah, it doesn't even let you click it. But yeah, so I mean, it was a pretty wild weekend. I mean, no one likes to see what happened at that. That was just fucking crazy. I don't know. Something needs to be done. I hear all these talks about like MMA union and all this stuff, and the fighters need to come together and things of that nature, and all this talk about like when dudes get power, they overexert it. Like when a fighter gets a power, they overexert it, like how Conor has, and then Khabib thinks he has leverage in this, and Khabib's apparently Khabib's deciding he's not going to fight anymore if his boys get fired, and all this stuff, and I think that's why the UFC will probably discipline Conor and everyone involved. Because I think that's what they're going to do. Because if you don't discipline everyone involved, even though basically that night it started with Khabib hopping the fence, I feel like that's the best way to try to resolve the whole entire thing is if everyone gets revolved and everyone gets like some sort of suspensions and fines and no one gets their, those, like, because in my opinion, Conor got a slap on the wrist. Whether you're a Conor lover or not, it just is what it is. And like, I was listening to that Luke Bryan guy or Luke Thomas or whatever his name is. He's got the MMA Hour or whatever it is that his show is. And he was pretty fired up. I was listening to him the night last night, talk about how like the fighters need to come together and try to figure out what they want to do so there could be rules across the board as far as disciplinary actions and dudes getting paid proper and, making it so that the UFC doesn't have all the leverage and power in their hands so shit gets done right, things of that nature. And like I said, I don't know a lot about unions or whatever, but I don't know. I feel like if that's really the case and if that's something that needs to be happen, I mean, it is up to the fighters to an extent. It looks to me like there's not that many fighters that are at least not that I know of. Like, I don't know if they're selfish or whatnot, but I don't know. There's definitely, like I said, the UFC is kind of becoming like a little bit of a circus act lately, in my opinion. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, fucking old head. I mean, I'm only 28, but I've been watching combat sports since I was a kid and shit like that. And like, in my opinion, the UFC was dope. There was a pinnacle of the UFC where it was dope. And like, when I was in high school, about like a decade ago, back when Dana White used to come out for his post-fight media scrums and you fucking sat down like it was a fucking fireside chat and shit. Like the fucking president was speaking and all this shit. Like, and obviously he had all the leverage then and he ran the whole thing and shit like that. But like now they sold it, the Fertitta brothers aren't there, and with certain matchmakers leaving, I don't know how I feel about it. I can't fully articulate how I feel the future's going to go with the UFC, but I just don't like a lot of the bullshit I've seen lately. Like, I don't know. But, I mean, I'm a diehard fan. I'll still keep watching the fights. I mean, that's what this is all about. Like, it's kind of similar to how when I go and watch other sports, like you fucking watch ESPN or Fox Sports 1 and they just talk about fucking shit that doesn't matter. I don't give a fuck about who's kneeling. I don't give a fuck about who's arguing over what I want. And when Ray Lewis comes on the fucking TV screen, I want to hear him talk about football. I don't want to hear them talk about fucking politics and shit that no one knows anything fucking about. and things of that nature. And I'm just using that as an example. I don't want to hear fucking Ray Lewis talking about people taking knees. I don't want to. I don't want to hear, about the politics in basketball, the politics in soccer, or like who the fuck's getting in trouble for what for MMA and how they're not. They're getting let off the. Getting a slap on the wrist and all this shit. Like I'm just sick of it. Like it's how I'm starting to feel about MMA too. It's like I just want to talk about the fights. But I felt like I needed to address this and stuff because not that my opinion is shit or anything, but like that's just what everyone's talking about. And if anyone wanted my opinion on it, I guess I'd give it. But you know, I hope we don't have too much stupid circus shit going on in the future. We just get down to the fights. I want to see these guys fight. I want to see Gregor versus Aldo. I want to see Ferguson versus fucking Khalibib. Fucking blue cheese, go fuck your mother, all that shit. Like I just want to see fucking fights, and I just hope to the MMA gods that everyone fucking stays healthy. I want to see Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee's gonna smoke Ally Quinta. Everybody better watch out for Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee wasn't 100% in my opinion for his fight with Tony. Kevin Lee's gonna come back and vengeance. Only 25 years old. That's future champ. But I went off on a tangent there. Again, big shout out to my buddy Alex Potts, 40 ounce. I'll be rooting for you tonight. I hope you do well. I'm hoping to have a bunch of guys from the gym soon on the podcast to kind of help promote them and stuff. I mean, here in upstate New York, in my opinion, upstate New York, we got a lot of quality fighters, man. I'm hoping we can get enough people to follow this so I can, put their names out there and help promote them. And I don't want anything from anyone or anything like that. I want them on so they can tell their story, and let everyone know that even though pro MMA hasn't been here in New York as long as it's been in all the other states, we got some good fighters up here. Hashtag Bomb Squad, hashtag UA, hashtag Wolfpack, John Wall, I see you. Hopefully Kevin gets a W tonight. We can have everyone on, hopefully next week or the week after. And that's it. Next week I'm probably going to be on here with Anton at some point, getting boring on everyone with some soccer talk and talk about football. We're third of the way through the season. Basketball's coming up, so me and Hawkeye and I will probably get into that and things of that nature. And hopefully we can get a little more of a concrete schedule, even if I don't have a problem coming on here and doing it myself and stuff, but it's just fun to do it with friends and things of that nature. So we'll holla at you. We'll be on next week. Just watch out for us. Have a good one, guys. Peace.